27 days, WWE will present its biggest event of the year. It's their Super Bowl, it's their NBA Finals, it's their World Series, it's their Stanley Cup, if you're into that. It's WrestleMania. It's the biggest time of the year for wrestling fans, and for good reason. It's been a marquee attraction for almost 40 years. This is the 40th WrestleMania. It is not the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania. That will be next year. Please keep that in mind. Please don't think this is the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania. I'm getting off topic. My point is, WrestleMania is supposed to be the time of year where all wrestling fans come together to enjoy the thing that they love. And some years, WrestleMania is great. Other years, not so much. A good WrestleMania versus a bad WrestleMania can depend on a few things. Where it's held, who's involved, and that leads to the third thing, the matches. Because a good match can make or break a WrestleMania. And today, I'm doing a big list. I'm looking at all different 43 WrestleMania events. That includes the 2 night shows. And I'm taking the best match from all of them. Not ranking them, because I would be here way too long. I'm just going to look at the best match from every WrestleMania. I mean, you've read the title, you know why we're here. So without further ado, let us begin. I'm Jackson Haney from Insane Internet Wrestling, and here's the best match from every WrestleMania. WrestleMania 1, Hulk Hogan and Mr. T versus Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. The early years of WrestleMania are basic, but in a good way. It's simple to an extent. Because, well, it's starting out, so it's obviously trying to find its rhythm, but you can tell that it's following a very simple formula. The best match is the last match. End on a high note. And that's the case with WrestleMania 1. In all honesty, there's not that much to remember from WrestleMania 1. The only things I do remember are the fact that it was originally going to be called the Colossal Tussle, the fact that King Kong Bundy beat SD Jones in 24 seconds, and the main event itself, which is a fun main event, but for today's standards, it's not great, but for 1985, nothing could top it. And it was a good way to cap off the first edition of the show, so we're giving this match the nod. WrestleMania 2, Hulk Hogan vs. King Kong Bundy. Continuing the theme of the main event being the best match, WrestleMania 2 tried so many things. The main thing they tried is to emanate it from 3 different locations. Building off of WrestleMania 1, they tried to make it 3 times as awesome, but in my opinion, they made it 3 times as worse. It emanated from New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. I'm not including all 3 locations, because that's stupid. I am going to include the main event of the entire thing, however. Hulk Hogan, King Kong Bundy, Steel Cage, WWF title. It's actually pretty decent looking back on it. And weirdly enough, my favorite thing about the match isn't even the match. It's Bobby Heenan's involvement. Because apparently he was going to have neck surgery in Tampa the day of WrestleMania, but he was told that if he wasn't there, he'd be fired. So he checked himself out of the hospital, flew to LA, bumped around for Hogan with a bad neck, went back to Tampa, checked himself back into the hospital. Legend. WrestleMania 3, Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage. Swerve! Not the main event, but really, that was obvious. I mean, Hogan Andre is fun and all, but nothing's gonna top Savage Steamboat. It's easily the best match in the first 5 years of WrestleMania. No question. On a rewatch, it could be considered tame today because, well, it's the same stuff they do on Dynamite every single week, but for 1987, it was the greatest wrestling match to have ever happened. And that's down to the geniuses of the men involved. And also, it was for the Intercontinental title, and I love the Intercontinental title. WrestleMania 4, Randy Savage vs. Ted DiBiase. This is Savage's second appearance on the list. It won't be the last. Turns out he really likes having the best match at a WrestleMania. Like the second incarnation of the show, WrestleMania 4 is tricky because the entire show was a tournament for the vacant WWF title, and it had 16 matches crammed into about 4 hours, which is a lot of wrestling. Even for now, that's a lot of wrestling. But fair credit to WWE, they stuck the landing with the ending. It took the biggest heel in the company, the most despicable heel in the company, the most hated, against the biggest and most likable babyface in the company, not named Hulk Hogan. And it was a refreshing change of pace. From WrestleManias 1 to 10, 8 of the main events featured Hulk Hogan. The only 2 that didn't were 4 and 10. 4 still had Hulk Hogan involved, but he wasn't an in-ring combatant and he didn't win the title. Savage did, which gave birth to one of the best WWE title reigns of all time. And the next match on this list. Roll that intro card. WrestleMania 5, Hulk Hogan vs. Randy Savage. I don't care what happens in WrestleMania this year with Cody and Roman. To my mind, this is still the best feud closer in the history of wrestling. 18 months of build blown off in the best way possible. This match also capped off, to me, Savage's perfect WWE title reign, because he spent the first half of it as a conquering babyface, ready and willing to defend it against all challengers. And he spent the second half as a sniveling heel, only willing to defend it whenever the situation suited him. But the Mega Powers exploding was the perfect build-off to the perfect feud, and it's also Hulk Hogan's best match, so it had that going for it as well. WrestleMania 6, The Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan. Well, I mean, I say it's his best match, then we get to the Ultimate Challenge. Yeah, it's the two biggest baby faces in the company, battling for the two biggest belts in the company on the biggest show of the year. Lightning in a bottle, perfect booking, and in my mind, it had the perfect winner. Warrior winning was absolutely the right call. Disregarding all the stuff that happened after, him winning was 100% the right move. It's one of those matches that has no right to be as good as it is. I mean, it's great for 1990, and it's decent for today. So yeah, holds up pretty well, surprisingly. WrestleMania 7, The Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage. WrestleMania 7 as a whole isn't very good, but Savage versus Warrior from WrestleMania 7 absolutely is. It's another one of those instances of feuds being blown off in a very good way, because Savage cost Warrior the title at the Royal Rumble, which led to the double retirement angle for WrestleMania 7. And it made sense, because Savage had been in WWF for a while. Now, of course, the retirement didn't stick, obviously. This is wrestling after all. But for the moment, nothing could have topped that ending. With Sherry kicking Macho Man while he's down and Miss Elizabeth running out from the crowd to save him, and the two embracing in the middle of the ring. What a woman and what a man. It's perfect. It really is perfect. And it's Warrior's best match, so it had that going for it as well. WrestleMania 8, Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper. Oh god, WrestleMania 8. I mean, it's not terrible. The main event absolutely is terrible, but at least it did have two excellent matches on it. Ric Flair versus Randy Savage is great and all. Probably one of the most underrated WWE title matches in WrestleMania history, but for me, what takes the cake is Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper. I mean, I like theatrics as much as the next guy, don't get me wrong, but what I really like at the end of the day is wrestling. Good old-fashioned wrestling. And Bret versus Roddy is good old-fashioned wrestling at its finest. It's also funny that they got away with the blade job and Flair and Savage didn't. I just think that's funny. WrestleMania 9, Shawn Michaels versus Tatanka. This is ridiculous. WrestleMania 9 is widely considered to be the worst WrestleMania of all time. Looking at the match card, not hard to see why. I honestly struggled to pick a match from this WrestleMania because the tag team title match between Money Inc. and Beefcake and Hogan is forgettable. The main event would probably be okay if Hogan didn't come in and ruin the thing. And then there's the whole Doink and Crush thing with the fake clown. And it's really dumb. It's really, really dumb. So I just went with something that I thought was okay, which is Tatanka versus Shawn Michaels. I mean, it ended in a weird finish, granted, but the stuff before that was okay. I don't know, WrestleMania 9 just sucks. And, I mean, it's an on-the-rise Shawn Michaels in the early days of his true heel run, which is great and all, but a count-out loss at WrestleMania, still, was better than anything else from that show. WrestleMania 10, Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. Now this one was difficult too, but for different reasons. WrestleMania 10 is a great WrestleMania, far better than WrestleMania 9 ever was. And it had two 5-star matches on it, which were the two matches that I had to choose from. You've got Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, and you've got Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon. Both matches are incredible. But for me, I'm going with Bret versus Owen. It's like I said earlier, I like theatrics, but I love wrestling. And Bret versus Owen is exactly that. And it's got heaps of story built into it. And the best part of it is, the feud didn't end there. It ended, really, at SummerSlam. with the cage match. But this was the middle act to a brilliant story. So you have to give it its props. But still, no disrespect to Shawn and Razor. That match is great. Go watch it if you haven't. But Bret vs. Owen, to me, is the sugar daddy likes.
WrestleMania 11, Diesel versus Shawn Michaels.
Mania 11 is very, very weird. You know why it's very weird? Because it was main evented by NFL All-Pro linebacker Lawrence Taylor. Yep, Lawrence Taylor main evented WrestleMania 11 with Bam Bam Bigelow, of all people. That match is okay. It's probably the best celebrity match in WWE history, probably. But Shawn versus Diesel for the WWE title, which in my opinion should have been the main event, that was the best match of the night. I mean, it tended to be the case when members of the Clique wrestled each other. They put out good stuff. Botched powerbomb aside, I thought it was pretty good. For a mediocre WrestleMania, this match was good. I won't say it was great, I'll say it was good.
WrestleMania 12, Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart.
Now, while this match is here, it is the best match from the show, it's also incredibly overrated. I had to sit through that entire hour and 5 minutes, and I thought it was good, but I was bored. I mean, Bret and Shawn going an hour is fine and all. It would have been better if they had actual falls during the match and not have to do the freaking 5 minutes for the first fall. They didn't have a single fall in that entire hour. It was just 1 hour, 60 minutes of straight wrestling, and it's fine and all, but oh my god. Now, to be fair, Okada and Omega did the same thing, but at least theirs was 2 out of 3 falls. So, yeah. I mean, Bret and Shawn for Mania 12 is good, but if you don't want to be bored, don't watch it. It's great, but don't watch it.
WrestleMania 13, Bret Hart versus Steve Austin.
This was a no-brainer. It's one of the best matches, if not the best match, in WrestleMania history. Debated. Mania 13 is not very good, but this match is excellent. It features the best double turn in wrestling history. It made Steve Austin into the star he is today. Austin 316 started it, but this match got him to that point. It also took super likable babyface Bret Hart and made him a despicable heel, which was bold. For 1997, it was bold. It also had Ken Shamrock in it as the special guest referee. Fun fact.
WrestleMania 14, Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels.
There really isn't much to remember from WrestleMania 14, other than the main event. So, the other match I could have gone with was the dumpster match with the New Age Outlaws versus Mick Foley and freaking Chainsaw Charlie. But yeah, at the end of the day, I had to go with Austin versus Michaels because it kickstarted the Attitude Era, probably the most popular period in wrestling history. And that includes today, and wrestling's cool again, at least to me it is. But yeah, Austin and Michaels made Austin an even bigger star than he already was. So, good on him.
WrestleMania 15, Steve Austin versus The Rock.
It's a rattlesnake trifecta. Mania 15 is not very good, but you all knew that. It had the Big Boss Man hanging to death. But yeah, the first match between Rock and Austin is honestly the weakest of the trilogy, but it's still pretty good. The two really never had a bad match against one another. I mean, the only other matches I remember from this WrestleMania are Shane McMahon versus X-Pac, Big Show versus Mankind, and Undertaker versus Big Boss Man with the death of the Big Boss Man. So, yeah, I think Austin Rock is a pretty safe pick here.
WrestleMania 2000, Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys versus the Dudley Boys.
Oh, great, it's the weird WrestleMania. The WrestleMania 2000 is notorious for having one singles match on the entire card, which is a cat fight between the Cat and Terry Runnels. Yes, and that match ended when someone threw the other guy out of the ring, so there were no traditional singles matches at WrestleMania 2000. But TLC was great. It was great. I could have gone with the Fatal 4-Way main, because that's just carnage, and that's what the Attitude Era really represented. But if you want real carnage, you look at TLC. Because it had the 3 most popular tag teams and the 3 best tag teams on the roster doing battle for the top prize of the division. which is great. Also, Edge and Christian winning is great. Absolutely the right move, if you ask me. Hey everyone, this is Jackson. 2 days after this video was recorded, I'm in the process of editing it, and I just realized that I keep saying TLC when this wasn't a TLC match. It was the Triangle Ladder match. So, forgive me for saying TLC, but now you know why I'm doing it. I'm just an idiot.
WrestleMania X7, Steve Austin versus The Rock.
You thought I was going to put TLC 2, didn't you? Nope. I love TLC 2 as much as the next guy. I do think it is better than TLC 1, just because there's more stuff going on. The spear off the ladder. Oh my god. But in my mind, Austin Rock 2 meant more. Meant so much more. It also makes thematic sense. It means more thematically. Because Austin winning the title at Mania 14 started the Attitude Era. Austin winning the title at Mania X7 ended the Attitude Era. The biggest period in wrestling history started and ended with a rattlesnake title win. It also began Stone Cold's midlife crisis, which is okay. It's okay.
WrestleMania 18, The Rock versus Hollywood Hogan.
Compared to X7, 18 is fine. Like, it's not anywhere near as good as X7, although almost nothing is. But for what it was okay. The main event was a little underwhelming, but still serviceable. It was a 4-way tag match, which was fine. Angle and Kane had a botched ending, but Hogan Rock absolutely shook the place. I remember watching Hogan Rock for the first time, and I was hyped. And remember, this was 18 years after the match itself when I was watching it, and I was still hyped for it. And that's just down to the sheer charismatic ability of Rock and Hogan. The two pulled off magic at Mania 18, and it's really good on a rewatch. It really is. Go and watch it if you haven't.
WrestleMania 19, Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho.
There were two ways I could have gone for Mania 19. I could have gone with the main event with Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, with the near death of Brock Lesnar, or there's the one I actually ended up going with. Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho, in Michaels' first WrestleMania match since losing the title to Steve Austin. And the reason I went with Michaels Jericho is because there never really has been a greater WrestleMania comeback. Spoiler alert, this is not the last time you will see Shawn Michaels on this list. Nowhere near the last time. They call him Mr. WrestleMania for a reason. And Jericho Michaels is honestly one of the best WrestleMania matches ever. And it doesn't get talked about enough. I mean, obviously people remember it for Jericho's heel turn after the fact, but the match itself is amazing. And it began probably the best period of Shawn Michaels' entire career.
WrestleMania 20, Chris Benoit versus Triple H versus Shawn Michaels.
Hello, Shawn. You're really good at this stuff, aren't you? Yeah, this WrestleMania is very, 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 very good. Probably one of the top 5 Manias in the history of the event. Maybe. I'll have to go and look, but maybe. But it absolutely ended on the right note. With Benoit winning and Guerrero winning, two best friends sat atop the company as world champions. That picture with Benoit and Guerrero raising their hands up will live in my mind forever. I mean, knowing what we know now, this match doesn't get talked about at all, and honestly that's for good reason. But the match itself, if you have seen it, you know why it's here. You know how good it really is.
WrestleMania 21, Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels.
Oh look, Shawn Michaels again. But honestly, this one is well deserved, because him and Kurt put on the best match of 2005. The entire year, this was the best match of the year. Both men are freaks. Michaels returned to wrestling in an unsanctioned match after being retired for 4 years because of a career-threatening back injury, and Kurt Angle won an Olympic medal with a broken neck. And it gets even crazier when you consider the fact that they really only practiced one spot. Everything else was on the fly, and it was perfect. Michaels is great, as he always is, but Angle's no slouch. And speaking of,
WrestleMania 22, Rey Mysterio versus Kurt Angle versus Randy Orton.
Yes, I went with this match and this match specifically. I could have gone a few ways with WrestleMania 22. Edge, Foley, Money in the Bank, Michaels, McMahon, Maybe Cena Triple H is a sleeper pick. But for me, this match was just really, really, really good. Probably the most underrated triple threat in WrestleMania history, because it capped off the feel-good story for Rey Mysterio winning the World Heavyweight title in honor of Eddie Guerrero, which is very heartfelt, very touching.
WrestleMania 23, John Cena versus Shawn Michaels.
John Cena and Shawn Michaels put on the most underrated WrestleMania main event of all time, and I do not say that lightly. It is really, really good, considering this is polarizing Cena. Like, still relatively early into his main event run, where he was starting to get trusted with big-time matches. But I think that by WrestleMania 23, he had found his groove, and Michaels helped him get there in this match. And what's even better is that they put on another match, pretty much exactly like it, on Raw, 40 minutes, and Michaels won clean, proving that Cena can do his job and do it well. There are other good matches on this show, obviously. Money in the Bank was good. The World Heavyweight title match between Batista and Undertaker was good. Bobby Lashley versus Umaga in the Battle of the Billionaires existed. But this is the one. This match, Cena-Michaels, that's the one.
WrestleMania 24, Shawn Michaels versus Ric Flair.
I mentioned earlier that I like theatrics, and Flair versus Michaels is pure cinema. Flair versus Michaels is the second best retirement match in WWE history. Don't worry, we'll get to the first. Mania 24 had a lot of good moments, but I'm Sorry, I Love You is just amazing.
WrestleMania 25, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, you knew this one was gonna be here. It's the best match in WrestleMania history, no question. It's my second favorite match of all time. You wanna see that whole video? Click here. Click here to see that. Mania 25 isn't remembered as being very good, but this match absolutely is. It's easily the best match of that entire decade, really. The entire 2000s, this match was number one. No question. Michaels and Undertaker put on absolute magic, and the weird thing is, that was only the first time they do it. And this is a stretch of Undertaker matches for like the next 5 Manias. Spoiler alert, but it is.
WrestleMania 26, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels.
This is perfection. It's probably the best main event, best WrestleMania main event ever, because this match was huge. Either Shawn Michaels' career or The Undertaker's streak was going to end. It was really unpredictable. You had no idea what was going to happen. I mean, sure, the streak had to live on for a little while, right? But Michaels' career could be over. So what do? The answer is you leave fans guessing. And really, no matter what, people were going to like it, because Undertaker and Michaels are just that good. And it's the best retirement match in the history of wrestling. I said it.
WrestleMania 27, The Undertaker versus Triple H.
Oh, it's a bad one. It's a bad one. Mania 27 is very, very, very bad. But Triple H versus Undertaker is very good. Probably my favorite things about this match are the chair shot to the head, which is the last time they ever really did that, if you don't count any concertos from now. The last straight up chair shot to the head. The fact that the match itself was built with no words, none whatsoever, and the finish, a submission finish in an Undertaker match. It's really good. Hell's Gate is really good. It's a really good finisher.
WrestleMania 28, The Undertaker versus Triple H.
There were several directions I could have gone with Mania 28. Sleeper pick might have been Punk and Jericho. I could have gone with Cena Rock also, but I like matches that mean something. And to me, Undertaker Triple H with the Hell in a Cell, Michaels special guest referee, that meant everything. Now, did it go too long? Yeah, a little bit. It's a Triple H match at WrestleMania. Of course it did. But it did give us the best kick out in wrestling history, with Undertaker kicking out of the super kick pedigree combo.
WrestleMania 29, The Undertaker versus CM Punk.
One more Undertaker match. Just give me another one. I really like The Undertaker, okay? He had a good run. WrestleMania 29, like 27, isn't remembered as being particularly good. They rehashed the main event from the year before, and there were just some matches that were really hit or miss, and a lot of them missed. But Punk and Undertaker absolutely stole the show. I mean, Punk wasn't going to get the main event, but he did get the best match. So, good for him. And it took the streak to 21-0, which is just amazing.
WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan versus Triple H.
Yes, I'm taking Bryan versus Triple H, the singles match, over the main event. The main event is great. It's amazing. I love it. But we never would have gotten there without this. This match meant more than the main event. I'm just saying. Because Bryan winning the title is amazing and all, but that wasn't the story going in. The story going in was him vanquishing Triple H. And that match just so happened to open the show. So yeah, it's great. I love it. I love it forever.
WrestleMania 31, Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns.
The reason this match is here is because it's a perfect example of what WWE always does. Them booking themselves into a corner and booking them out of it perfectly. Nobody really wanted Roman Reigns to win. Absolutely nobody. They were sick of him because he had won the Royal Rumble and Bryan didn't, and everybody hated him. Lesnar was not a good option either, because he was either going to leave or he was going to keep the title and leave with the title. So, for the second time, Seth Rollins was plan B. And it's the perfect swerve. It really is. It's really one of the better WrestleMania endings ever. The Money in the Bank cash-in, the heist of the century, is a moment that will live in history forever. And if WrestleMania goes like I'm hoping it's going to go, it'll happen again. But this time, Rollins will be on the other end. Click here to see that video. You should click here to see that.
WrestleMania 32, Charlotte versus Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch.
Mania 32 kind of sucked. Main event sucked. Undertaker Shane McMahon sucked. Lesnar Ambrose sucked. But there were two Match of the Year candidates on it. The IC title ladder match, and the match I'm going with for the best match of the show, the Women's Triple Threat. The IC title ladder match is great and all, but we knew they were good. The IC title ladder match from the year prior was also great. The reason the women's match is here is because they prove that they can be taken seriously. They can give quality matches on the biggest stage.
WrestleMania 33, AJ Styles versus Shane McMahon.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you heard me. Styles had the best match from WrestleMania 33, and he did it against Shane McMahon. AJ Styles is a wrestling genius. And it's really weird to pick this match because I really like WrestleMania 33. There are a lot of fun moments from the show, but the one match that really sticks out to me as being good is Styles versus Shane, which is crazy. I could have gone with a Raw Tag Team title match for the return of the Hardy Boys. I could have gone with Goldberg Lesnar for being a pure car wreck in its greatest form. Could have gone with other things, but for some reason, Styles and Shane, it just works for me. I don't know why, it just does.
WrestleMania 34, Seth Rollins versus The Miz versus Finn Balor.
This match holds a special place in my heart. WrestleMania 34 was my first WrestleMania, and it was the first WrestleMania I got to watch live, and I fell in love with this match instantly. It's not one of my favorite matches, but I do like it. All three men were at their peak here, at least to me. Rollins was great in 2018. That was probably the best year of his entire career. Finn Balor is always great. It's just a shame they don't do more with him. And The Miz was the best he had ever been in 2018. Maybe 2016 was better, but I'm getting off topic. WWE really likes their triple threat matches at WrestleMania. And spoiler, this ain't the last triple threat on the list. But in terms of opening triple threats, nothing tops this. Absolutely nothing. It's amazing.
WrestleMania 35, Kofi Kingston versus Daniel Bryan.
WrestleMania 35 is honestly an underrated WrestleMania. I think it would be a lot better if it wasn't 7 pissing hours. But yeah, it had 3 really feel-good moments on it. It had Seth winning the title from Brock in the opener. It had Becky winning both belts in the main, and in the middle, probably the best moment from the show is Kofi Kingston winning the WWE title. Kofi Mania coming to fruition. And it's honestly really special that this movement occurred against Daniel Bryan, the man who 5 years earlier completed his own story. Oh, would you look at that? I just realized that. I'm realizing this as I'm recording it, but 30, we had Daniel Bryan conquering the Authority. Yes movement, yes, yes, yes. Mania 35, Kofi Mania was running wild. He finally won the WWE Championship. WrestleMania 40, Cody Rhodes finishing his story. Maybe. That's just me. That's just me being a really big optimist.
WrestleMania 36, Night 1. The Undertaker versus AJ Styles.
Okay, for Mania 36, I'm kind of cheating, because both of these matches are cinematic matches. But, I mean, really, what else is there to pick from? Every other match on the show happened in dead silence, which kills me to this day. I watched WrestleMania 36 happen, and watching those matches in dead silence was soul-crushing. But the cinematic matches were awesome. I love the Boneyard match. I mean, I absolutely love it. If it was an actual match, it'd definitely be one of my favorites of all time. And given the limitations of the time, it really was the perfect career ender for The Undertaker. He got to retire as Mark Calloway, as the man behind it all. Just a no F's given Texan who likes to ride motorcycles. It's perfect. I love it.
WrestleMania 36 Night 2, Bray Wyatt versus John Cena.
What makes me sad is that we only got one of these, because the Firefly Funhouse match was excellent. It was the deconstruction of the John Cena character that had run roughshod on WWE for nearly 20 years. And Bray Wyatt took it apart within the span of 15 to 20 minutes. Imagine all the people he could have done that to. Undertaker, Randy Orton, Triple H, Vince, if you want to go that far. But yeah, at least we have this match. At least we have this Firefly Funhouse match. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. We miss you every single day.
WrestleMania 37, Night 1, Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks.
Ah, thank God. Crowds. This was the only pay-per-view from the pandemic until it was lifted that had crowds. From Elimination Chamber 2020 to Money in the Bank 2021, in between there, one pay-per-view had crowds. It was WrestleMania 37. And honestly, it was a lot better for it. And this might just be the best women's match in WrestleMania history. I know, crazy. But it really is. Bianca's great, Sasha was great, and they just worked absolute magic together. But that's Sasha's whole thing. Sasha had great chemistry with everybody. And she said that she's not ruling out a WWE return, so maybe we'll get more great matches like that. Maybe.
WrestleMania 37 Night 2, Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan.
When this match happened, we should have known that Roman was going to hold the title as long as he has. Because he pinned both of the guys. He pinned Edge and Daniel Bryan at the same time. That is dominance. And we should have known that more dominance was coming in the years to come. It's a really good triple threat. It's one that doesn't get talked about enough because of how recent it is, but it's really good on a rewatch. It's the WrestleMania swan song for Daniel Bryan, so has that going for it. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's actually pretty good.
WrestleMania 38 Night 1, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch.
This is a match that I absolutely love. And I remember earlier that I said that Sasha was the best women's match in WrestleMania history. This might be that, actually, now that I think about it. Sasha versus Bianca was Bianca basically saying, I'm here now, and I'm going to be good for a while. Becky versus Bianca was a revenge story. Becky stole that title from Bianca, and she got her payback in the best form possible. It was the ultimate blow-off, and it was amazing.
WrestleMania 38 Night 2, Johnny Knoxville versus Sami Zayn.
Odd pick, but it's great. It's hilarious. I initially hated this match, fun fact, because I was a big Sami Zayn mark at the time. Still am, really. But I didn't want to see Sami Zayn face Johnny Knoxville and lose at WrestleMania. But on a rewatch, it's hilarious. It really, really is. And it makes sense looking back on it, because the whole conspiracy theorist gimmick was kind of crap. So seeing it get its butt kicked is just funny. I mean, Sammy's willing to play ball, so fair credit to the guy, and it's just really funny. When I look back at it, it's just funny. Oh, but speaking of Sami Zayn,
WrestleMania 39 Night 1, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens versus the Usos.
Mania 39 will go down as one of the best WrestleManias of all time. It really was that good. It really was. And this is proof of that. It didn't end the Bloodline story, it was merely a chapter in it, but it could have ended here. It really could have. And when this match ended, we thought it was going to. Honorary Uso no more, Sami Zayn was out for blood against the Bloodline, and his best friend Kevin Owens was more than willing to help. And them winning the tag team titles was just icing on the cake.
WrestleMania 39 Night 2, Gunther versus Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus.
Aha, tricked you. You thought I was going to put Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes here, didn't you? Well, I could have, if the ending hadn't happened. If Cody would have won last year, then that match would absolutely be here, no question. But the triple threat, Gunther, Sheamus, and McIntyre, is just amazing. It's three big guys beating the crap out of each other for 20 minutes. How do you not love that? And it's like the Roman Reigns example I used a few minutes ago. When Gunther won this match, we should have known that he was going to be champion for a while. I mean, if Sheamus and McIntyre couldn't beat Gunther, who could? Well, if my mind is right, Sheamus, but you know what, that's besides the point. As a quick closing remark, I'll say this. WrestleMania 40 has a lot to live up to. But if everything goes like I'm thinking it's going to go, it's going to be very, very good.
And that's the list. Thanks for watching. Did I miss anything out? If I did, tell me about it in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Jackson Haney from Insane Internet Wrestling, and I will see you soon.